Like, God showed me flames, guys, with this conviction. Yo! Like, he showed me flames, guys. I'm putting my story and I'm putting my argument, and God is like, Njani Miguel.
Everybody else was taken, so this is me.
Malweni, you guys. I trust that everyone is doing well today. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here and are watching for the first time, hi and welcome. My name is Natasha, and this is basically a space where we share our experiences, we learn, and we grow. If you are watching from outside the family, please do come in and become a part of this beautiful family just by clicking that subscribe button below. Don't forget to hit your notification bell as well so that you don't miss out on any of my videos going further. To all the returning family members, welcome back, fam. You know the house rules. You grab a drink of something and we enjoy. I'm having my daily water intake. There's actually an interesting story behind this bottle. I'm not falling into the trend, okay, guys. Please, Yoba, what's up with the girlies being thirsty all of a sudden? So I saw something on Instagram, I think it was on Instagram or TikTok, that was like, what's up with all the girlies being thirsty all of a sudden now that Stanley has released these mugs? So no, mine is not a Stanley one. It's just a plain, simple, I think it's a dupe of Stanley, and it's quite bigger, I would assume. I got mine from like a local, like, home store somewhere here in Boxtel. So the interesting story behind this mug is that I actually got one for myself, a green one, right? I think it was like a month ago, and my partner actually dropped it by mistake and the handle broke, because the one that I had was like it wasn't like a full closure handle, if I can say that, but it was like just ganje, so right, so it broke, and obviously I started using it without the handle. So when we were in the store today, I saw this one and I really liked it, and I was like, you owe me, brother. So my man did the things and he got me this one, and I love it so much, guys. I really love it. There's another bee again today on the window. Like, what's it with every time when I'm shooting there are bees on my window? Because on my last video, there was also a bee on the window, and I think I did mention it on the video while I was actually shooting. This is so strange. If anyone knows what this means, please let me know in the comment section, because I do not know what is happening right now. But anyways, yeah, so I'm having my water intake today, and that is what I'm having as my drink. And I hope you also grab something, whether it's a cocktail, a mocktail, a soda, some water, or coffee or tea, whatever it is that fancies you. Grab a drink of something and let us enjoy this video. Okay, so today I have a couple of topics that I want to talk about and share with you guys. As per usual, these are things that might have caught my attention, or things that generally I have experienced in the past couple of weeks. I think I'm really loving this type of way that I am actually putting my content out right now. I'm just literally enjoying it so much, because I love talking, right? I think I enjoy more talking about topics that I find fascinating, or things that I feel like I need to talk about or I need to share, right? And I always feel like God instills all these ideas and all these topics and all these experiences, you know, for me to actually talk about. And the minute I keep them in and I don't talk about them, they haunt me day and night. And the minute I release them and talk about them, I literally feel like such a relief. So sometimes I really feel like maybe there is a purpose to why God places these topics in my mind or in my life for me to talk about. But yeah, I really do feel a relief once I let it all out and I talk about it. And if I don't talk about it, it haunts me. So yeah, anyways, let's get straight into it. So I'm not even gonna beat around the bush, or I'm just gonna go straight into it. So if you've been on my channel for a while now, you'll know that I lost my job, right? I think it was like 4 months ago or 5 months ago. I lost my job at Tesla, and then I got hired, I think, a month later at the company that I do work for now. And I've been at the current company, I think, for just almost 4 months now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, and I have shared in the previous video, if you haven't watched that video, just go back, about how it's been, my experience so far, and so forth, right? Anyways, so the point that I'm trying to talk about by sharing all of this is that I unexpectedly got a call from Tesla. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago, right? So when I left Tesla, my manager actually mentioned to me that should there be any positions that would open up at Tesla, I would be one of the first people they consider to bring back, because obviously they really loved my work ethic and me as a person in general, right? So at first I thought, oh, it was just one of those things, when you lose your job and people are just trying to say things to make you feel better, blah blah blah, right? And I didn't really take much into it. So I was shocked when I actually got a call from my supervisor, right? Okay, I got a call from my manager, my direct manager, but the person who told me that they would call me back should there be another opening was our main manager, right? The manager of me and my manager. I don't know if I'm making sense, but you get me, right? Okay, so anyways, I get a call from my immediate manager, right? The person I was reporting to. And he tells me that yeah, there's been an opening, and as promised, they decided to give me a call first, to kind of like let me know about the position and ask me if I am interested in coming back. I was so shocked, guys. I was like really shocked. First of all, I really thought that my bigger manager was not really being serious, right? I thought he was just saying it to make me feel better. So I was really shocked when my immediate manager called me and told me about this. So obviously I didn't make a decision there and then. It's something that I'd have to think about, and I'd have to weigh the pros and cons, and I'd have to consider everything before I make a decision. So I told him that I would get back to him. I would think about it, and I would let him know how I actually feel and the decision that I decide to make eventually. So the same day, I got back home and I told my partner about it. My partner told me the same thing. He was like, you need to write down the pros and the cons and about working at both places and just weigh everything out, right? I did that, and to be honest, everything was just the same. Like in terms of traveling, the travel that I do now and the travel that I would have to do if I would go back at Tesla was the same. If the salary was more or less the same. They said at Tesla, they said they increased it a bit, but from the job post that I saw, it wasn't really different from what I'm getting now. And I also did the pros and cons regarding the job industry. And that was the only thing that could have made me probably go back. Because as I did mention previously in my other video that I posted before this one, is that I used to work in the automotive industry, right? Like probably half of my logistics career, or not even half of it, most of it actually has been in the automotive industry. So I'm currently working in a different industry, which is obviously the glass and optics industry. And this is something totally different from what I'm used to. And I have a love for automotive. So that would have been the only thing that would have made me go back, but I had to weigh my options, in the sense that I literally had to sit myself down and actually ask myself, Natasha, what do you think is best for your mental health? And that's the point that I want to share regarding this first topic, is that sometimes we stay in jobs and opportunities and relationships and friendships because of the status that these things give to us. We stay in these things because of how they make us look and feel important. And to be honest, if I went back to Tesla, besides the automotive industry, I think I would have gone back because of the name. And I am so grateful to God that I am such a grown person and matured person, and I think also just growing older and being exposed to things and experiencing so many things in life, it really opens your mind, and it opens your maturity and your wisdom, in the sense that you start making decisions based on wisdom and not based on carnal things and worldly things, and like pleasing the world. So yeah, to be honest, I would have probably gone back because of the automotive industry and because of the name. Basically decided to choose my mental health more than anything, because that was what is more important to me. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying anything bad about Tesla or the people I worked with or whatever, but to be really, really honest, where I'm currently working, yes, like any workplace, I've said this so many times, there are challenges, it becomes frustrating. Sometimes you get annoyed by things that happen. It's normal. It's just like any workplace. It's not supposed to be like home. It's a workplace. We're there to work and make a living, right? But I was actually saying to myself also and to my partner that where I'm currently working has brought so much joy in my heart, in many aspects. I feel like I have a lot of connection with my current colleagues than I did with my colleagues at Tesla. And that's another point that made me choose to not go back. It was firstly the environment and the connection that I have with my colleagues, and the career side of it, or the career part of it, is the fact that for the growth of my career, I think where I am currently is really good, because I'm in a position that I've never worked in. I'm getting exposed to other sides of logistics that I've never really been exposed to in depth. So I think it's really good for me, because once I maybe decide, maybe in the next couple of years or whatever the case may be, to move into a different company or different job, I would have had literally exposure each and every position that you might find in logistics. I would have been exposed to a bit of it, right? So I really love that for myself. So yeah, that was basically the decision that I decided to take, and those were the reasons behind me making that decision. So I made a decision because of my mental health and for my mental health, because I knew if I went back to Tesla, I think I wouldn't have been really happy, even though I would have enjoyed, because I'd be back in the automotive industry, but I don't think I would have really been happy as I am now. And because I've been exposed to where I am now, then obviously I would constantly compare, to what I've been exposed to now. Whereas if I had went back to Tesla immediately, maybe after I lost my job, or let's say I lost my job and then a month later they decided to call me back, I wouldn't have really had an issue, or I wouldn't really have any pros and cons to consider, because I haven't been exposed to something different. But now that I've been exposed to something different, I personally felt like this was the best decision for me. And I think it's just also an encouragement to everyone out there who's watching this video, that make decisions that are best for your mental health. Don't stay in positions, in workplaces, in relationships, in friendships, in companies, in businesses, whatever it is that you pursue. Don't stay in places that are not really the best for you. I don't want to say not good, but that are not best for you, and that you could be in a better place, but you stay in it because of the status and the title, and the whole thing of this particular thing, and what worth it puts in your name, or on your name, or on your entire existence. I think that is the worst thing you could do to your mental health, because you will continue being miserable. And at what expense? That people are going to be like, oh, you work at Tesla, meanwhile you're not even really happy. Do you get what I mean? So basically that was what influenced my decisions, and I decided not to go back. It was really sad, but I had to send my manager a message, and I told him that, look, I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for considering me and even thinking about me, but for the growth of my career and where I want to go, I think for now the exposure that I'm getting where I am is actually good for me. So yeah, basically that was it with Tesla. And Yeah, it is what it is, guys. It's life. It's life. So yeah, moving right along to the next topic. So a couple of weeks ago, not even a couple of weeks ago, I think it's been like 2 months now that I have been having these thoughts of actually removing my son from social media totally, right? So basically I generally don't really post my son a lot. I'm not a person who's always posting my son, but a couple of months ago I just had this. I think also the things that I've been reading about and the things I've been watching and the things that I've been learning have really opened my mind to so much. And with that being said, I am currently going through a season where I'm feeling like cutting him off from all my social media platforms and not posting him again. I haven't really made a decision yet, but it's something that I really am considering, and for many reasons. The first reason is that we all know that everything that we post on social media is literally data. It's stored, and it's data that could be used against us at any given stage, or that could be used to our degradation, or that would not be a benefit for us, right? It's data that could be used, that could impact us negatively, that could be used against us, that could be used to degrade us in any kind of way. There's this whole thing of people are scared to have social media platforms. Some people don't like having digital devices because there was this thing, I think, at some point in time, that we're being watched, everything we do is being watched. And it is true, guys. Somehow, some way, the data that we put out there through our lives is obviously monitored, because it's too coincidental that these days you would literally search on Google for something, and then the next thing, the same thing is appearing on all social media platforms, or wherever you open, is the thing that you're searching about suddenly appears there. And I know some people will say, no, it's like algorithm and all of that, but we all know, right? But in any case, the point I'm trying to make is that I learned that it's important for me to respect my son's privacy, because he's young now. He can barely speak fluently, and if I don't respect him now, not knowing what type of child he's going to be like when he's older, then I would have failed him, in the sense that I always think of, like, what if my child decides to be a private child? What if he decides to be a private person? What if he decides to be a child who doesn't, what if he decides to be a child who does not want to be out there, who does not want to be known? What if he decides to live a private life, or to lead a private life? So I had to ask myself those questions, that me putting him out there, does that serve him well, should he decide to be that type of person, right? And another reason why this thought has been running through my mind is the fact that I feel like social media these days for kids is such a dangerous place, besides safety reasons, but also in terms of cyberbullying. I feel like lately, I don't know, maybe it's just, the way things have really unfolded in the digital space. I feel like there's no boundaries, there's no respect. People are lacking boundaries and respect when it comes to people's kids, like the comments that people make regarding people's kids. And my fear is that I don't want my son's first bullying to be because of my actions. I don't know if that makes sense, but I wouldn't want my son to grow up and find a comment that maybe someone might have said about him, and that making him feel less confident or affecting his self-esteem, especially with the way young kids are committing suicide because of cyberbullying, because of the way young kids are being affected by, cyberbullying, and, what it does to them. Like, I could literally speak about this in a separate video, but yeah, these are things that I've been thinking about, and I want my child to make a decision for himself, whether he wants to put himself out there or whether he wants to lead a quiet life. And obviously, this is not easy. I don't want to speak as if this is just an easy decision to make. It's not easy because I love my son. I am in love with my son. I am obsessed with him. I love him to bits. There's nothing I wouldn't do for that child. So me not that I show him off, but not being able to show the love that I have for my son, with with the people on my social media platform is obviously not going to be easy, because sometimes, when we share, our experiences in our motherhood, it inspires other people and it also gives hope to other people in whatever way. So obviously it won't be easy, but I think with what I've learned and respecting his privacy more than anything, I decided I think this is the best decision. And I haven't fully made a decision to say, okay, I'm totally taking him off. But I think gradually, I think I might get to a point where I'd be like, okay, no, it's been good. And now I am officially removing him. My partner, on the other hand, is generally an extremely private person. He's not a social media person. Like, my partner posts like one picture every 4 months or 5 months or whatever. And he's never posted our son on social media. So I'm the only person who's posted our son on social media. So, yeah, so like those were some of the reasons why. And the other reason why I have decided to put my son, or I am thinking of removing my son from social media, is the fact that I don't like how there's competition with kids on social media, especially Instagram. Like, I've noticed, I've been picking up the signs and I've been picking up a lot of things, and I decided for my own mental health right now, and I can't say for the mental health of my child because he's still young, he doesn't even know what's happening, but for my mental health, because everything that I see affects me, and it doesn't really affect him because he doesn't even see these things or understand them, or he can't even comprehend what's happening. But for my mental health, I decided that this is actually the best decision, because I've noticed that there's just so much competition around kids on social media, like whose kid is smarter, whose kid weighs more, whose kid is thicker, whose kid is more beautiful, whose kid walked first, whose kid spoke first, whose kid started speaking at a younger age, whose kid started potty training at a younger age, whose kid eats well, whose kid, all these things. And it's just not good for a parent mentally, because sometimes one parent may be flourishing in something, or the child rather may be flourishing in something, and maybe your child is taking longer in something, and sometimes it really does something to you mentally. And not that you compare your child to someone else's child, but you just generally start feeling a bit of, pain, and you start questioning, like, God, why is my child not learning this thing sooner? Or why is my child not eating well as this person's child? Or why is my child taking longer to learn to walk? And these are just examples that I'm making. Or why is my child not gaining weight as much as someone else's child is? And those things are not healthy for you and your baby, because all those toxic thoughts that you put in your mind, they eventually affect you emotionally, and all that bad energy you can easily exert to your child. And sometimes it gets even bad because it ends up affecting you mentally. And sometimes you even find parents who end up, resenting their kids or not liking their kids because they're constantly comparing their kids to the kids of other people, and people who they don't even know. So I'm not saying that I do compare my child to someone else or anything like that, but I just felt like for my mental health and for my son's mental health, because everything that I do and everything that I think, the things that go through my mind and my heart, obviously do affect my child, especially if they have to do with him. So I wouldn't want to be bitter towards him or angry, or, just start questioning God about this beautiful gift that he's given me, because I'm constantly comparing my child to someone else's child. So I just decided that, you know what, I think for my mental health and for the betterment of my child and for my son's mental health in future, I think it's best that I take a step back and I just, you know, share less. Not that I really do share much or every day, but I just decided to share less. And maybe eventually, once I do fully make the decision, I will totally, totally remove my child from social media. Um, so yeah, that was something else that I wanted to share. Then the next thing is conviction in music, movies, and fasting. So, guys, I don't know what's happening in me. I really do not know what God is doing in my heart, my mind, my soul, and my life. But I think I'm going through this transition, né? That is, yeah, I think I'm going through a very big transition. Not necessarily big, but I'm going through a lot of small transitions. Yeah, let's say they're small transitions. And it's not to say that I was a wild person or anything like that. And I remember questioning God. I was like, God, one thing about me, like, I'm a very, very, like, laid back person. And I've never been wild, right? Yeah, I think I could say I've never really been a person who's wild. But the way God has just decided to transition me, I don't know, maybe he's preparing me for something, angas. But basically, I've been convicted so much in music, movies, and fasting. So basically, what I mean is that God has convicted me, like in terms of the music that I listen to and the movies that I watch and the whole story regarding fasting. And he basically told me that I need to be mindful of the things that I listen to and the things that I watch, because through those things, I unknowingly invite certain thoughts and certain, you know, feelings and certain spirits. And at first I was like, how, God, I don't really, you know, watch izinto ezimbi or listen to like rude music. Like one thing about me, like kwakdala, I've never been like a person who likes vulgar music. That's why I'm not really into like hip hop and trap music, especially like international hip hop, right? There is like some old school like hip hop that I really love, but I've never really been into like umculo where there's a lot of like swearing and cussing and all of that. But I don't know, maybe because of the transition that God is doing in me, I need to change a lot of things in my life. I don't know. But yeah, I was convicted in these areas. What we watch and listen to determines our mindset and our soul set. And I just realized that I love it when my mind and my heart and my soul is at ease and at peace. So with that being said, I decided to literally start observing the type of music that I listen to. So like music that has like a lot of sexual connotation, or music that has like weird lyrics, or lyrics that don't make sense, or lyrics that just don't really fit with who I am spiritually, I literally cut out, right? And more than anything, I think I've learned that the type of music that we listen to takes us to different places and it instills different feelings in us. You know, like for instance, have you ever noticed how, let's say, you've decided to fast maybe for a day, right? And part of your fast is obviously to just literally be in silence. And that means no social media, no digital devices, and no music and all of that. And it's just you and God, you're talking to God the whole day and whatever, right? And then you listen to this one song, Nje, and then this song just takes you to a different place, and this place gives you these feelings that you're not supposed to be having while you're on this fast. So that's just an example that I'm making, that God just showed me that it's important for me to listen to music that enriches my mind, enriches my soul, and music that takes me to places that put my heart and mind at ease, that connect me with, with him more than anything, and music that is just meaningful, man. And also in terms of movies, so I've always loved horror movies, right? But I haven't watched, like, I think I've really decreased the amount of movies that I watch, especially horror movies, like in the past couple of years. But I've always been like, I love horror movies and whatever. But even when I got the conviction in movies, like, God was telling me that I need to be careful also with the type of movies that I watch, because the things that I also watch and the things that my eyes see, those things later like stick into my brain. And that's why sometimes you find that you have these weird dreams, or you find that you suddenly have this anxiety and this fear, it's sometimes it's because of things that you've seen and that you've watched, like, for instance, like, horror movies literally instill a sense of anxiety and fear in you. And I recently learned also that horror movies are not good because they also increase your blood pressure a lot. And it makes sense, because when you're scared and watching a horror movie, you are constantly in anticipation, and uzibambile xa ubukele. You're not like free and at ease and at peace, so I just realized that I think I enjoyed the satisfaction of the thrill, but then later the effects that it would have on me in terms of suddenly becoming a fearful person and suddenly becoming an anxious person. And I just didn't like that. I really, really didn't like that. And when I got this conviction, I was like, okay, I think it's starting to make sense. I started connecting the dots that I actually need to start watching things that are meaningful to me, things that grow me, things that even after I watch it, I have to actually have learned something from it. Actually has to have helped me maybe to heal something in me, or if it's just for entertainment, because at the end of the day, I'm human. It's nice to just sit back on a Friday evening and just watch a nice comedy, or, a romantic movie or whatever. But whatever it is that I watch, I don't want it to instill fear in me, to instill anxiety in me, or to instill any spirits that are not good, for my spirit. So that was the other thing that God convicted me in. And the last thing that he convicted me in, or before I get to the fasting, but the other thing is also that it's important, especially if you are a Christian, like, also watching a lot of sexual movies is not good. So personally, now I am not a person who likes sexual movies, right? I remember that other year when 50 Shades of Grey was a thing, like, everyone, not everyone, but like majority of people used to watch it. And I was actually shocked at how even Christians that I know were actually like obsessed and watching it. And I was just like, no, it is not for me. I am not interested in knowing what happens. So I've never been a person who is like fascinated, or who is drawn to the whole sexual movies or sexual entertainment space. But sometimes I would like watch a movie, and obviously people would kiss, or they would be touchy or whatever, and that's just basically how far I decide to go, right? And I think if you are a Christian, you know that it's not good for you, in for so many reasons. It's just like the horror movies and listening to music that is just not right. It instills just certain thoughts and certain, feelings in you. And I think personally for me in my journey, there are just certain things that I want to stay far away from, because I do not want to be feeling certain things, and I do not want to be having certain thoughts. And that's just for the growth of my spiritual journey, and for who I'm becoming and who I want to become. So yeah, the last thing was fasting. So I was also convicted in this area. So this, for the fasting topic, is really challenging, because yeah, God showed me flames, guys, with this conviction. Like, he showed me flames, okay? Stand back. Okay, so really showed me flames with this conviction. And I remember going on TikTok this one day, and the first video I saw while I was in this argument with God about the fasting thing. And the first video I saw was of this girl sharing her fasting journey. And she basically, in a nutshell, with I'm gonna paraphrase, right? She says that we make excuses and justify the things that we do not want to do, but we know we are supposed to do. And basically, she was talking about how people make excuses when it comes to fasting, like, oh, I can't fast because of this and that and that. Oh, no, I can't fast because of this and that and that. And personally, for me, I used to always say I can't fast like a good 12 hours because I easily lose weight, right? So I'd always be like, yo, I do not want to lose weight. And obviously, it's always been a thing for me. Like, I easily lose weight, guys, and I struggle to gain weight. And if you know, you know that I've always been a skinny girl, right? So for me, the whole thing of fasting always made me feel like if I fast him now, I'm gonna lose weight, and if I lose weight, I'm gonna look sick, and I do not want that in my life, right? So I've always like fasted in alternative ways. So I'll have like a social media fast. I'll like maybe fast from meat. I'll maybe fast from like junk food, or soda, chocolates, snacks, whatever. I've never had like a solid fast where I'd say I am not eating for 12 hours. And when I came across this video of this girl and how she was sharing how we make excuses and we have become so comfortable as Christians to give God the ultimatum and to tell God what's going to happen, whereas He is in charge. He is the omnipotent, omniscient. He is the Alpha and the Omega, guys. He is the one sitting on the pedestal. He's the one who's supposed to be telling us what we're supposed to be doing, not the other way around. And that day, guys, I was so convicted. I was like, this was meant for me, and I'm getting it, I'm receiving it, and I'm sorry, God. Like, I repented so much that day. I was like, okay, I'm really sorry, God, because I feel like it's been going on for years where I've been telling God that I kaloku andizokwazi ufasta kaloku mna i-12 hours because lose weight, and xa lose weight kaloku andizokwazi ubhitya, andifuna ubhitya mna, yabo. So when I came across that video, when I went on TikTok, I was like, this is meant for me. And basically, the other thing that I want to share regarding this topic is that we don't realize that the things that we do turn into patterns, and patterns eventually turn into habits. And I learned a couple of years ago that we are creatures of habit. This is actually something that I came up with while I was writing my book, is that we are creatures of habit. And there's a quote that I really love that says, chains of a habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. This is one of the best quotes that I've ever read. It basically means that the habits that you instill in your life that are not good, as you gradually instill them, or as you gradually do them in your life, right, within the course of the many years of your life, you won't feel them. Because the more you do something that is not right, the next day you tell yourself, I'll do better. You do the same thing. After 5 years, that habit is going to be so strong. It's going to be a chain that is so, so, so hard that when you're going to try and break that chain, child, good luck. It's going to be so hard to break that chain, basically. So it's important for us to learn that the habits that we instill in our lives literally become chains. And if we instill bad habits, it's going to be hard to break those chains. If we instill good habits, we know that once that chain is strong and it's molded together, it would be hard to break it. And it's good. If it's a good habit, it's good, because that means that you can't easily break that good habit. Whereas if it's a bad habit, then it's another story. So yeah, basically that was what I learned in terms of habits. The next topic that I want to share about is racism. Hey, kunzima. Kunzima. This life that we live in is not easy. Basically, My family and I went to an event some time ago, and this topic actually was sparked by something so small, something so small, guys. So my family and I went to an event a couple of months ago, whatever, and basically, long story short, at this event, they were like kids were allowed, right? And there was like a park where kids could play at, and I obviously went with my son to play there, and there was a boy who was playing there, right, with his family, I think, or his mom and dad. And I remember the look that boy gave me and my son, and he made these weird faces that just told me so much. Like, he was doing these weird faces, like these, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to say they're demonic faces, but he made these weird faces, like, he was like pulling his tongue out at us, and he was like angry, and I think he was five to spitting, basically. And at first I was like, okay, but obviously I'm an adult. I'm smarter than this. I know exactly what is happening. And I was like, okay, maybe this is just a child thing, until I saw his mom and his dad's reaction once me and my son got to the park. And then I realized that no, 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 this has been taught. And the point of me talking about this topic, I'm not really going to dwell on it too much, but the fact is that racism is instilled in kids. Racism is taught in kids. There's no child that is born and automatically becomes a racist. There's no child that is born and is taught that this person is black and this person is white, and you guys are different and you are meant to treat them differently because of their skin color. There's no such thing. Racism is taught. Ill treatment of another person based on their skin color is taught. A child learns what they see from their parents. They learn what they see from other people within their community, within their household, and what they do, right? Because there's no way you can tell me that that child at such a young age already could comprehend that these are black people, so I'm supposed to look at them with disgust and to treat them with disgust. And I think it's really sad in this world that we live in. I don't even want to talk much about racism, because racism itself is an entire lifetime book that a person could write. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we know have happened that are still happening around the world, when it comes to, the ill treatment of black people. But I think I'm so grateful for God, for my relationship with him and my maturity and my wisdom. And I'm grateful to God for my walk in the Christian life, because I think if I was another person, I would have probably reacted differently. And not just to this incident, but to also the many incidents that I have experienced, right? Maybe I can say in my lifetime, or in the time that I have grown to be aware of what's happening around me. Because, this is not the first time, and I don't want to really label it like, I don't want to label it as if like I'm experiencing this when I got to the Netherlands, because even in South Africa, one thing, if you are watching this and you are from South Africa, we're the one country that fought racism, and we're the one country that is still fighting it, because it hasn't ended. It still occurs in many different provinces and cities and towns in South Africa. So many people are still in that mentality, right? But the fact that I'm trying to make is that I don't want it to seem like when I got here, now I'm experiencing. No, it's something that has been happening. Like, it happens everywhere around the world. But to be honest, since I've been in South Africa, I don't think being around anyone has really ever made me have to be aware of the color of my skin. I think that's the best way to put it. Because whatever space I've entered in, whatever workplace, friendships, church, wherever I've ever entered in my life, I've entered it I've entered in it as Natasha. That's about it. Nothing about where I'm from, my skin color, or I've entered it as who I am, my soul. So I think for the first time, for the first time, but I think loudly, for the first time, I am loudly being reminded about the color of my skin. And for the first time, when I enter into spaces, I have to remember who I am. I have to remember that I'm different, and I've never had to do that. And sometimes things happen. I won't go into detail, but sometimes things happen, and at first I would question, and then in hindsight I'd be like, oh, it's because of my skin color, you know. So it's really not easy being in a country where you are the minority, but I'm grateful to God for the community that I have of people who are from back home in South Africa, and people who are also Africans who are currently here, especially who have been here for a very long time, and who constantly, you know, remind me that, you know, you're gonna get used to it. You'll find your place. And I think the best thing that I've heard from a friend who's also a lady who has immigrated to the Netherlands, in the same type of like journey as me, she said something that was so powerful. And she said she taught herself to be comfortable with being here. And she told herself that she's comfortable with being here. So everyone else around her needs to be comfortable too, because yeah, she's comfortable. So if they are not comfortable, then that's on them. And I think that is such a powerful thing, because I also had to instill that in my life, that look, I'm comfortable with being here. I struggled with imposter syndrome when I got to the Netherlands for a very long time. I got through it. I got to a better place mentally, and I told myself that I'm not going to allow anyone to make me feel that I'm here by mistake. God is the author and the finisher of my life. He is the decider. If he wants me here, then there's nothing no one can do about that. And I'm comfortable with being here now. So if someone else is not comfortable, it's on them. It's really not on me, it's on them. So yeah, anyways, that's just another thing that I wanted to share. I've noticed that there's this trend happening lately on social media where everyone is suddenly an introvert. Sana, everyone is making it seem like people who are extroverts are actually loud people. And that, I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case. You can be an introvert, you can be an extrovert, sorry, but be a person who is very, very, very subtle with the way that you carry yourself. Being an introvert now is like the thing. It's like you're more special if you're an introvert than if you're an extrovert. In making it seem like being an extrovert is a bad thing, and I do not understand it. But yeah, anyways, shockingly, I actually learned a lot about my character in the past year. And I know some people might say, no, Natasha, you are an extrovert. Or maybe some people may say, no, Natasha, maybe you are an ambivert. And for those of you who are watching and do not know, an ambivert is basically a person who has a bit of an introvert personality and a bit of an extrovert personality. I don't think I'm an introvert, and I don't think I'm an extrovert, but I think I am a person who is socially intelligent. I think that's the perfect way to describe who I am. I think I'm a person who is socially intelligent in the sense that I have good people skills. So I know how to get into an environment and read a room, read people's characters, and act accordingly. I know when to speak and when to keep quiet. I know when my voice is required and when it's not required, right? So I don't necessarily think I'm a quiet person, but I'm also not a loud person. Because if the environment requires me to be dizola, I think I am socially intelligent in that sense, right? I know how to read a room. I've got good people skills, which is why also I know how to get in any workplace and, create good colleague relationships with people, because I read people's characters. I know, my boundaries with each person. I know, how much to say, how much to keep back, you know and I think it's a skill, guys. Not everyone has it, right? And I know when my voice is required and when it's not, and when I should speak and when I shouldn't speak. And what people don't realize is that the Bible has a lot of teachings, guys. One thing I like about the Bible is that it doesn't have only like spiritual teachings or, Christianity teachings, but it teaches us about morals, it teaches us about values, it teaches us about characteristics that you should have, or character building, if I can put it like that. It teaches you about social intelligence and emotional intelligence. So, James chapter 1 verse 19 says, you must be slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to listen. And I think this goes so well with what I'm talking about right now, because in any given circumstance, and this is not only about arguments or in heated moments or in like fights or whatever the case may be, but this is also in general in life, you should be slow to speak, slow to get angry, and you should be quick to listen. And I don't want to lie, guys, I'm not saying I'm perfect, or I'm not saying I'm the best communicator, or I'm here to tell you guys this is how you should communicate or this is how you should be. No, I also have my flaws, guys. Like, I'm currently in a season of teaching myself to be a good listener and to be a good communicator, because I like talking. Didn't like didn't like I like talking, guys. And sometimes I feel so bad because I do feel like sometimes I don't give other people a chance to speak. And I actually realized that it was one of my weaknesses, my communication weaknesses, is that I would want to quickly respond than rather listen to what a person is saying. And with that being said, I learned something so powerful, that there's a difference between listening and hearing. And some people listen to respond, and others listen to understand. Yeah, if I can go. So powerful, guys. And I feel like at some point in time, I was actually listening to respond, because I would hear the keywords of someone's conversation, especially like in misunderstandings or whatever the case may be, or just normal conversation. I just pick up the keywords and then I want to comment based on the keywords. And sometimes I used to think that it's a thing of maybe I'm rushing to respond so that I don't forget what I'm saying. But then I actually learned also that slowing down is actually good for receptors zakho. And it's actually good for your mind when you respond slowly and when you respond by actually thinking about something first. It's actually healthy for your mind. And always wanting stimulation is actually not healthy for you. So that thing of listening to respond and listening to respond because you're worried that you're going to forget what you want to say is actually because you're not communicating effectively. But if you actually listen to what a person says, you try and understand what they actually are saying, you try and take time to think about your response, and then you respond. Effective communication, because you are listening effectively, you are not quick to respond, and you're trying to understand what they're saying. So you're understanding the conversation, you're understanding what they're putting out there, you're taking the time to think about your response, and eventually you do respond. If you actually take the time to listen and understand to what a person is saying and take the time to think about your response, then you won't forget what you actually want to say. So I actually also had to learn that about myself in terms of my communication. Yeah, guys, that is that way. These are just things that I felt like I should talk about on my channel. So the last thing that I want to mention is that, guys, please, if you are an extrovert, do not be afraid to be bold about it. There's nothing wrong with being a person who's bubbly, who's loud, who those people actually are needed in this world, because sometimes we need that one person who just gets into the space and just makes us laugh, makes us forget about our problems, makes us forget about, you know, everything that is happening around us, or just makes us happy, or just makes us feel good. We need that sunshine. Some people are just sunshine, and that's just exactly what we need sometimes. If you are an introvert and you're a person who just keeps to themselves and is laid back like full time every day of your life, that's who you are, that's also fine. Flourish in who you are, flourish in who God has called you to be. And just as we need abandabazi extroverts, we also need introverts, because sometimes we need that person who just calms our spirit down, who just calms us down, and who is just the reasoning, and who is just the calm in the storm, if I can put it like that. As this is the end of the conversation, please do not forget to subscribe if you haven't, like the video, comment down below, don't forget to hit your notification bells. Guys, let me know if there are any comments that you have regarding this video, if there's any experiences that you might have encountered maybe on any one of these topics, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.